So I just want to start off by asking a quick question, the typical sort of throw your hands up. This is either going to fly or it's going to die. So everybody obviously knows what a toothbrush is. Who's used one of these this morning? So a few people haven't put their hands up, but that's okay. But who this morning has actually spent some time looking after their mind? Can you show your hands? So actually quite a lot less hands, in fact, an incredible amount, a lot less hands that have gone up. But yet arguably our minds are much more important than our teeth. And that's why we've started Unmind. So Unmind, we exist to help employees improve their mental health. And we do this through creating a digital, beautiful, affordable platform that's clinically valid. We passionately believe here at Unmind that everybody has the right to a healthy mind. I'm sure you're all very aware, but mental health problems are vast in the workplace, but also outside of the workplace. And so just want to talk about a few key issues. So the leading cause of mental health in the workplace is absenteeism, and this costs the UK economy about £42 billion per year. And this stigmatism around it is horrendous. So 9 out of 10 people would not reveal to their managers that they're actually suffering with any mental health issue. And you imagine the pressure that's putting on somebody that's coming into the workplace. It's poorly dealt with, and it's affecting all organizations. So 1 in 6 employees will experience some form of mental health issues this year. So Prince William actually summed it up quite nicely a couple of years ago, where he said, mental health is not a dirty word. We all have mental health, like we do physical health, good or ill. And largely mental health is a spectrum. And we think we're all on this spectrum of mental health, and sometimes we move up and down it, monthly, yearly, hourly. And so what we do here at Unmind is we focus on a proactive, preventive mental health service. And we also help people get the right care at the right time. So we've developed the Unmind platform. It's a proactive, preventative approach to mental health in the workplace using clinically backed tools. Through series, what we call, through learning and development, what we call series on the platform, tools and training, which is largely based around mindfulness exercises, assignments and insights, and supporting and signposts. So actually giving you access to the right content at the right time if you're in a critical state of mental health. But we don't just create a product that we just throw out to people. We actually want these things to be clinically backed. So we have 4 cornerstones that we build our platform on. And this is cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroscience, positive psychology, and mindfulness, and beer. But it's not just us that love Unmind. We've actually got a lovely bunch of clients that are currently using us. These are some of our featured ones that have landed in the last few months. But I'd actually like to give you a bit of background, a bit of story as to Unmind and how we started. So we're going back a couple of years. There were 6 of us that started out on this journey. For those who are good at mathematics, you can see there's maybe 5 here. That's because the other co-founder was based down in South Africa at that time. Fast forward a year back to Q last year. We're a 12-person team. We're turning over £312,000 annual revenue, but we'd secured 1.4 seed round investment, which has enabled us to actually build out our product in mobile and on the web as well. And then just a few within the last few months, we're now a 36-person team as of this week, I'm pleased to say. We've got 1.2 million revenue targeted, and we've just actually secured a £3 million investment, largely led by an amazing VC called Felix Capital, who are arguably one of the best VCs in the UK. They've followed people like Deliveroo and Farfetch, to mention a couple. So we're growing, and we're looking for more talent to join our team. So the question is this you? Why might you want to work here? So I'm a big believer of Daniel Pink's motivational method. So he talks about mastery, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So autonomy, we actually believe people in their mind should be able to get on and do what they want to do without us looking at everything they put through a repository. You are masters of your own creation, so we believe that you can do what you need to do to get the job done. Mastery as well, we're big believers that everybody can continue to learn. We're very humble within our team, and everybody's learning all of the time. And purpose, I've obviously spoken about quite a lot already. Mental health is paramount. We need to start addressing this. We also have amazing tech, some of which you can see here, some of which we're going to be talking about tonight. And also some fantastic benefits when you work with us. But most importantly, you get to work with some funky people that I'm sure some of you have already been introduced this evening. But what do people think? Well, people actually really do enjoy working at Unmind. We've got a culture of striving for continued quality and excellence. Our product has the capacity to reverse the trend of increasing stressful lives. And lastly, the workplace culture and a tech stack are great at Unmind too. But what's next for Unmind? We're now actually repurposing our entire stack. So everything you've seen, all the clients we've got, all the people we've actually acquired to come and work and join this journey with us, are being built on essentially what's an MVP. So now we're rebuilding our entire stack from the ground up using the technologies that I showed you before and actually giving it a lick of paint that you can see here. So I want to thank you for listening to me. I'm now going to hand over to Barnes, who's going to talk you through some of the tech that we're using here. Thank you very much.
And thank you to Nick for telling you all about us. I'm one of the full stacks at Unmind. Very, very happy to be here talking to you all today. This is my first tech talk, so be gentle, please, everyone. So I joined Unmind in August last year, and I am so glad I did, really 100%. We have, as Nick mentioned, a really amazing continuous learning culture. We live, breathe, and practice mental health and well-being on a daily basis. We have fun social events, and we even have a few dogs that come every now and again. This is Jeannie. She's a Maltese from our head of design, Ina. So if you like dogs, good. Okay. Okay, so the agenda, going to be talking about our stack, which Nick has already alluded to, a little bit on how we're deploying that stack out to iOS, Android, and the web. Then I'll show a little bit of a demo, and then some code sharing. How we are finding we can do code sharing with using React for the web app and React Native for our mobile app. So we currently have a V1, the MVP, as Nick has said. And we have a database with a schema already using a CMS. And then on top of that, we have a Node API using GraphQL. And so we need to keep that running. That's out with all the clients that Nick's mentioned. And so that is kind of like the bedrock that we have to keep building on top of. So for our API and state management, we've gone with Apollo. It is the de facto client for GraphQL, and so we found it. It's going to be great for obviously that side of things, but then it's got loads of great state management built in. We have a lot less state than you would probably need if you wanted to go down the Redux route. So it makes much more sense for us to just keep everything in Apollo and write less code, which is always good in the end. And then obviously you're all here because of these two. Probably the bottom one, I should have put that on the top, apologies organisers. But yeah, React Native is the most performant hybrid app system out there. And thanks to the underlying technologies of React.js's virtual DOM, it's really, really performant, which I've already said. So yeah, we also chose these two because we're hoping to have some co-reuse between the two projects. Obviously, there is a very, very active and current community. You're all here, right? You get loads and loads of good questions on Stack Overflow. One thing we noticed was our V1 is in AngularJS 1.6, and yeah, questions are not being asked anymore. So Stack Overflow was not our friend for that project anymore. And then obviously for a little bit of type safety, we've gone for a TypeScript hug around those two. I know a lot of you were at the talk last week that Robbie Haig gave about achieving amazing velocity with TypeScript. But yeah, it is awesome, right? It finds out errors that I've been writing in my code before I've even realized. It tells me through our IDE. Improves readability, velocity, and promotes really robust refactoring as well. Right, so a little bit on deployment. I know it sounds silly, right? But I love deployment. I know it's a little bit of a kind of configuration. We really have to do this. But without deployment, none of our stuff would get out there, right? It's the reason everything is deployed is visible to people outside of our own local hosts. And so yeah, I'm a bit of a deployment fiend, not fiend. That's a bit of a. I'm not a fiend, by the way. Okay. So anyway, everything is based on Bitbucket. That's where all our repos are. And then for the React Native app on iOS, we're using Fastlane to do the iOS, provisioning and certificate signing and so on. And then that's all going out through Visual Studio App Center. Android, we key sign stuff locally and then use the key store there. And then, that's kind of how we get our iOS through TestFlight, and Android is we're implementing the Android Alpha at the moment, but I'm sure you're all aware it's painful. So yeah, there's a few kind of gotchas that we've had with App Center. You need to kind of configure a feature branch for each time you want to kind of have that feature available to for people to test. It can be automated with the API, so we're going to do that. But yeah, it's been a few teething problems with it. One of the other things was lack of support for SSH, which has been tricky, but there are ways around it. There's always stuff to moan about with deployment, right? But being able to commit on a feature branch and then see it in test flight 10, 20 minutes later is lovely, right? And it's all about showing what we've built to our product team. We don't have to touch Xcode, we don't have to touch Android Studio. Obviously they're installed because of V1, but it's streamlined. And thanks to Laurie and to Laura, where's Laura? Our leads, hey, for setting that all up, because it's made our lives really, really helpful and really easy and productive. And you guys are great. Okay, so the apps so far. So I've got them both side by side. As you saw from Nick's slides, this is series. So series are all about they're basically like the heart of the educational component of our platform. They are a multimedia learning and development program, or programs, which are designed to. Can you tell I took this from our product guys? Okay. They're really they cover a full spectrum of mental health, all the way from problems all the way through to thriving, which is really, really awesome. As you can see, they're divided into a number of categories. Here we're going into a series and into the days of the series. That one's finished, and now we'll move over to the mobile app. So you can see there's a lot of bits that are happening in both. We have to have our mobile app providing essentially the same experience, same level of content that our web app does. And so that has obviously provided some potential for code sharing and code reuse between the two projects. So I'll just wait for my demo to stop. It should be about now. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, as you can see, apart from the few interaction differences that we've got, like the view all button on web, we have that same offering. So because of this, we found that we saw that we could, that there's the possibility to reuse a lot, and we have found that we've been able to. Essentially, like higher order components that we are using through GraphQL, the GraphQL higher order components that we can use with for our API calls, that is all in a shared repo. So what I'm going to do, if we just look at the banner at the top, the current functionality for the series banner there, if you're in the middle of a series, it'll prompt you to click continue. Otherwise, it will display a carousel of featured series. So let's just dive into that little carousel component, and I can show you what I mean by code reuse. Okay, so we've got React Native on the left, React.js on the right. Anyone spot any differences? Hey, he must have written, what was it, React Native Web or something, or React Native DOM. Yeah, no, I mean that's it, right? There's literally, we can just reuse, this whole thing apart from the view and the div, which is awesome. I know I'm a bit late to the whole party on React Native Web and React Native DOM, but this is something we can reuse stuff. So if we then look at the hock, so this is like the query for GraphQL at the top, and then the higher order component there. So I don't know, I'm sure you probably all know this, but the higher order component is a function that takes in a component and then returns a new one. In the case of Apollo, higher order components accept a component and pass in props derived from request responses or a function and/or a function to carry out a GraphQL query or mutation. Now, Apollo also has render props, which is kind of a little bit of a different way of doing things. These accept a function as a child and pass in arguments with data from the request and responses and/or a function to carry out the query or mutation. Mutations for those non-GraphQL heads are essentially inserts or saving data, writing data, rather than retrieving it in the more common kind of word with query for that. Okay, so we decided to go with the hock kind of pattern rather than render props, because we often get data for a page with a number of different queries because of the nestedness of our series. For example, we got series, then series day, and then segments, and so on. So we basically found that because of this, if we went down the render props route, we would enter into some crazy fallback hell from which we would never return. So yeah, Apollo's compose is much neater, and that's kind of the main reason for us following that pattern. So basically we found that we've been able to share all of the API hooks from both projects in one place, which has been really, really cool. So yeah, we like it. Okay, so yeah, that's what we've done on a kind of code sharing kind of side of things. So far we've got also typography and colors, and that's sharing icons between the two. We also share our linting rules. Here we go. Sorry, I was out of sync. I was looking at the next one rather than the current one. And then custom errors from API and vendors. I was going to take that line out, but forgot. Yeah, we haven't got to the vendor side of things, but our API does give a custom errors, for example, in login that we want to then tell the user about, because we want to kind of keep it as secure as possible. So we're not going to say, we don't have that email, but had you signed up, we want to keep it kind of pretty vague. Okay, and then obviously the code that I mentioned, hooks, and then also interfaces and types, because a series is a series to us, it is to our API, and so it should be shareable between the mobile and the web. Cool. So how do we do it? It's pretty simple, really. We just used internal repos that would get tagged for versioning, and then using Webpack, we also kind of just some configuration on the entries of Webpack, so we could basically kind of drill down into the different sort of parts and features of the app. Okay, thank you.